Alright, YouTube, by now most of you understand that I'm accurate when I make predictions within politics. I predict that these recounts will do nothing. Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. The problem for Clinton is that all three would have to swing over to her. Because if only two swing over to her, she still doesn't get above 270 and Trump stays above 270. And it's not going to happen. Trump is ahead by 70,000 votes in Pennsylvania, where I don't even think, by the way, a totally accurate recount can be done because I don't think a lot of these places have paper backups. Therefore, even if, let's say, Wisconsin and Michigan, turns out Clinton won those states, so fucking what? Doesn't mean that Trump didn't win. It just makes it a narrower margin. The problems are manifold here. The first problem is that it's not clear that an adequate recount can be performed in all three states. The second problem is that if it were, Clinton would have to win all three. The third problem is, if that were to happen, they would actually have to codify the fact that she won them, which means that the entire presidential transition process would be thrown into absolute chaos. Number four, the electors would have to actually respect that tally. And number five, if everything else were to fall in line so Clinton were declared the victor by the Supreme Court or whatever in these states, even if that were to happen, then the population would have to accept the result. I think it's a little bit late for that. I think what's happening here, you saw on Twitter, Jill Stein was actually chuckling about the fact that Hillary Clinton and her campaign got on board with the concept of a recount. She's like, oh, you can't be on again, off again about democracy. She is right. I think she's trolling him. Honestly, I think this is really more of a Jill Stein trolling effort than anything else. Clinton stands to gain absolutely nothing from this. She's obviously not going to win these states. By the day, you're getting closer and closer to the mark where Trump is inaugurated. He is the president-elect. It's not going to change. The recount means absolutely nothing. It's a pipe dream. It's an imaginary thing. It's just like, as I said, the idea, oh, they're going to impeach Trump. No, they're not going to impeach Trump. He hasn't even been inaugurated yet. They can't impeach him right now. They'd have to wait till he's actually in office. And then you'd have to get at least some Republicans in the Senate and the House, which they control both, on board with such a move. Can you say things that aren't going to happen? No, his future is assured for at least 2 years. And if he does a good job in those 2 years, the Republicans aren't going to lose the House or the Senate in the midterms where they have an advantage anyway. Jill Stein is raising millions of dollars largely from a bunch of brain-dead Clinton fans who think that this is somehow going to swing the election. And it's not. If it were to actually swing anything, it would be to swing this country into absolute chaos and into a constitutional crisis over which set of results to actually accept. And then there might be another recount after that. If it came out that Clinton was ahead by 10 votes in some of these states, Trump would demand his own second recount. And he has more than enough money to ensure that. He would drag it through court. Clinton would drag it through court. It would be the most long, drawn-out, grueling, senseless process you can possibly imagine. Thankfully, it's not going to happen. Trump is now attacking Clinton for jumping on board with this, and I don't blame him. The funny hypocrisy is this. Hillary Clinton and all of her fans were very worried that if Trump lost, he would demand a recount, he would lawyer up, he would raise unholy hell. And it made sense to talk about this a lot and denounce that as hideous and anti-democratic. Democratic with a small d. It made sense because they all thought that she was going to win. But she didn't win, she lost. Therein lies the problem. Now every time she talks about the possibility of rigging, the possibility of a bad counting method, the possibility of a shitty balloting system. Anytime she mentions this, she looks like what she cast Trump off to be, which is unwilling to accept the result. A hypocrite. It's wonderful. I think Trump knew he was ahead at that point and threw that out there so that she couldn't really do anything when he came out narrowly ahead in some of these Rust Belt states, and that's how he carried ultimately the election. The fact that Florida's not on the table for a recount means that she would need Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Not one of them, not two of them. She'd need to swing all three. Does anyone think that they're going to figure out that Trump's 70,000 vote lead in Pennsylvania is actually a deficit. No, I don't think that's going to happen. It's a little bit late to be stuffing the ballot boxes. When people look at the popular vote, what they're seeing is that there was higher than normal turnout in some of the deep blue states, places like California. It doesn't matter. This is why we have an electoral college. So some big blue state or some big area of red support for the Republicans can't simply stuff the ballot boxes by getting higher turnout and then completely swing an election through a Democratic, again with a small d, vote. What we have is a popular vote at the state level. It provides a stopgap against the tyranny of democracy, which is we're not a democracy. So many people live under this illusion that the United States was set up as a direct democracy. It's not, and not without good reason. Direct democracy only works if you're a microstate or if you're completely homogenous on an ideological basis. As long as nobody disagrees, a direct democracy works fine. As soon as there's significant disagreement over some major policy, that's when it begins to break down. That's why we have a representative democracy instead. We have a republic. So yeah, the recount means nothing. It will accomplish nothing. Jill Stein is having great fun right now, probably embezzling money and almost certainly trolling Hillary Clinton and her fans and laughing her ass off. You think that a bunch of hippy-trippy, granola-eating Green Party supporters, most of whom are completely reliant upon handouts and want communism, you think they're the ones donating to this cause? No, they're not the ones donating money. It's a bunch of Clintonian neoliberals from the middle class that are doing that. A bunch of really bored picket fence dwellers. They live in a lily-white neighborhood, so they don't think there's any problems. They think we need to stay the course. That's why they're so stupid. Yeah, it's very funny. It's a bunch of new males and people like that. People with glasses that don't have lenses in them and pink hair and stuff like that. Those are the people currently funding this endeavor. They don't even seem to realize that hippie grandma there is trolling their chosen candidate, the one that lost, the one that will remain the loser. She will never be in the presidency. She'll never see the White House again. Trump will become the president of the United States. I can assure you of that. It's not in question. There's a 0% chance that this recount thing does anything. It wouldn't even be, even if you found out she won these states, it'd be too late. It wouldn't even be accepted. It'd go through court so long it'd be inaugurated before it was over. It'd be a situation like in Florida, of course, with Al Gore. Al Gore actually ended up winning the state of Florida very narrowly. The Supreme Court of Florida, though, had already declared Bush the victor. Gore had already wandered off into the hinterlands. So it was a little bit too late. And that's the case here. These states have already weighed in. People have come around to the understanding, yes, indeed, Trump will be our president. And a lot of them are fine with it. Well, you're not going to unseat him now. It's a little bit too late for your recount effort. You know, you wait weeks. Instead of saying, oh, well, it's pretty close in these states, I think we should have a recount. And Jill Stein saying, okay, we're going to do it in the first couple of days. That might have stuck. You might have been able to make a case for that. But you waited 2 weeks to do, and actually a little bit more now. It's not meaningful. It's not going to accomplish anything. Jill Stein's just a hippie grandma. She's probably collecting money for her weed fund. That's about all. Peace out.